Oh, it's just thinking. Hi everyone, I am Suzette Bailey from Simple Marketing, and I have the lovely Yasmina Katsitani, who I met through Clubhouse a few months ago, and we have become fantastic friends as well as also colleagues. So we've been behind the scenes having a lot of conversations about AI and how to use it. Obviously, SimpleMarketing.ai is an AI platform, so it's one of the AIs, but I love geeking out on AI. So I thought for my very first LinkedIn Live, and for the people who are on the other platforms, it is predominantly originally started as a LinkedIn Live, but we're streaming it to others through StreamYard, as you can see. I'd love to introduce the fantastic Yasmina, and she can give you a bit of an overview of who she is.
Thank you so much, Suzette, for having me on your program today. And I'm super honored that this is one of your first live in terms of, this edition on LinkedIn and YouTube, as you mentioned. I'm really glad. So yes, I made your acquaintance on Clubhouse, and I think that was one of the most fruitful connection I have made on this platform, because I think that we are like-minded persons. We are two women. We are also entrepreneurs, leaders trying to change things. So yeah, I'm Yasmina, based in London, originally from North Africa. So I'm Algerian, but moved to Europe a few years back. I would probably say I have been for the last 20 years in the corporate world. Oh my God, it makes me very old, like a dinosaur. I am a dinosaur. If you talk to my kids, they will confirm that. But a dinosaur who keeps, a bit of a foot and hand and a toe and an eye into the marketing, new tools and everything else, right? So have been working in the corporate world, as I mentioned earlier, in car manufacturing, have done various industries like cybersecurity, retails, food, FMCG, like they call it. I never get the acronyms, but it's fine. So what else? E-learning, VR, just name it. I'm kind of like a little bee who kind of like to see what the others are doing. And that's why I think you and I connected strongly and built up this relationship, because we started with the innovation. And I think like-minded people, we like innovation, we like disruption. And I'm super happy to be here to talk about it, to exchange and, give some insight.
It's fantastic having you. And in fact, we've actually got Fred Gillian, who is yet another Clubhouse buddy, who is from Melbourne, who is actually talking to us through the Facebook. So he's somebody I also connected with Clubhouse and with the marketing. And it's really funny that you mentioned about the marketing side, because of a few months ago, somebody actually called me a digital marketer. And I know it's ironic with now running a AI platform around marketing. And I was like, no, I'm not because I came more from the information management side, the IT side of it. And I think this is one thing, I suppose, for a lot of you who are listening is, marketing is so much more than just what the advertising kind of world and where we go. We are always marketing ourselves, even if we are not marketers per se. It's an interesting sort of area. Love to, like, you and I have had lots of conversations around AI, some of which have been in the marketing area and some of them a bit further. And you and I have had some really good conversations about the direction that AI is taking in regards to small business and larger businesses and where things are going. Did you have any particular sort of comments to sort of kick off the conversation around that, Yasmina?
Probably one thing that I may, keep telling you, and I'm repeating it so much, during the conversation, is that my feeling today is like, maybe 40 years ago when the computer started being created and being like, in the trend, and people didn't even know what it is until, Macintosh and, other computers start being more of a B2C consumer. My feeling today for the corporate world, and, this big enterprise that everybody think that giant, but even the smaller one, are at this stage of, not even the discovery yet. Because I feel like the artificial intelligence platforms are here. They have been here for the last couple of years. But the way to connect them to the daily task, to the daily business needs on this corporate, feels like very blurry. And I think there is a bridge to be built, because I think once this bridge is, built and the connections start being, it's going to go super quick. Like, the humanity before the iPhone or before the, mobile phones and today. Within 10, 15 years, it has been a big leap. So I think that once we know how to use it, to make the most of it, educate the people, skill them. It doesn't mean that they're going to lose their job, but skilling them to do the right things to perform better job. I think we're going to have a leap, an amazing leap that will allows humanity and the business and the economy to kind of, to go to a new discovery.
You're absolutely right, and that's a very big thing that I believe too. Is that I keep hearing AI is scary, and absolutely, and I think that's more a factor that it's a period of change. AI has actually been around a lot longer than 2 years, even for anything to do with Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, all of these. They've been using AI, and we've been interacting with that for a long time. Apple with Siri on our phones, things like that, at different levels, both overtly and covertly. But the thing I think for me with AI is that it's a massive productivity tool, and I think we are living. AI and robotics are driving the next industrial revolution, and this is why I think people find AI very scary, because it's a period of change. We're going to have a hybrid period for quite a long time. I suspect well, depends on quite a long time for in the AI world, but may not necessarily be in the human world. It might actually happen very quickly. I think we'll reach a point and it will flip over. But I think it's going to be a point where our roles will change, but we still have a role in this world. And it's about how we adapt and how we start to bring in these sort of AI technologies and be able to have it become part of our business, so that it's actually doing things that we're already doing. It's not about bringing in things and trying necessarily new things. It's about helping us to do the things we already do better.
I fully agree. And you know why? Because if you go back again, history makes, we're not good students. We're not good kids at school. Because if you look at the history books, right? And when we look at the UK, where I'm currently based, they were the first one to come up with this semi-automation manufacturing, right, which was like the beginning of 19th century. And people were scared around the world to see, oh my God, they're going to get rid of us. There will be no jobs in manufacturing. There will be they want to get this done, and the cars and everything else, from the manufacturing, this revolution has helped humanity rather than scare them. Because as a human being, we're always scared of something we don't know. And that's kind of, that's part of our human being anyway. And I think it's an animal thing. I don't know it. I'm getting away from it. I'm kind of suspicious. Once I know it more, I'm kind of playing with it. And then I'm kind of, making the most of it. And then I master it. So I think this is always the stage that human being will take from an educational point of view. And the same goes with AI. You are absolutely right to say, I didn't want to scare people and say, yeah, AI has been here for the last 30 years and it has been watching you. But as this time is my husband who thinks that I'm too much science fiction sometimes. And I'm like, honey, it's not the case, but you will see. And I think that, your listener will be shocked to kind of, if they start doing the research, they will find out that, as you said, the machine have been here learning. It wasn't as, let's say, progressive as the ones that we have now, because obviously now we are mastering them better. But when it started, it's like anything we start, like the first phone Nokia that everybody had. You can throw it over the wall, you can drop it in the water. It doesn't really kind of make anything, but you have just one snake game and you just make calls. Now the iPhones are like 12th generation or something, and we're mastering everything in it, right? So we can do the same. And with artificial intelligence, it's the same thing. It has been learning how to read some information, to read some data. And as per today, it reads not only the data, it also analyzes the emotion of the people online, right? So that's kind of the beauty of making every time a new leap until, we discover we have been doing a big leap without really making, looking at these small little steps. And maybe I think that the best analogy is like when the guy came to the moon, right? So the US sent their guys over to the moon a few years back, or maybe like a long time, but that didn't come like this. They were studying since, the 14th, 13th centuries, what the universe is about, what the galaxy is about, what's the distance between the Earth and the moon, how we can make it. Even Icar, has been one of the mythology about it. So that's how deep, our, kind of little steps have started from. And it's the same with AI. And I think that we just need to, as you said, maybe not hybrid it, but make the most of it. Make the most of it in our daily job, make the most of it in our daily life, because, it's a good to have like an AI reminding you to call your mom, or to get your husband's gift, or your kids to bring them from school, or remind you that next week, is holidays, which for my case, I completely forgot. And I'm like turning up into the football pitch in the morning. I'm like, oh God, this is, it's starting again. So you see, take the most of it in terms of this information. Over to you.
Oh, look, and you're absolutely right. I mean, and for me, it is about taking something you're already doing. So one of the things like we use, one of the AI that I love is X.AI or Xi. It is one where I can sort of send I can send you an email and send Xi an email and say, Amy, because it has a persona, book a meeting with Yasmina, find a time that's suitable for both. Well, it acts and, you would then be able to email back saying, oh, look, I'm available on Tuesday between this time and this time. But I'm in London. And Xi or Amy as the persona can have that back and forth conversation with you and actually book that meeting. I mean, I can also give you the link to my calendar, but I can go further than that and actually have you book, it look for a time that's suitable for both if we have to reschedule. So instead of me and you and if you actually have Xi as well, or an equivalent one, the two AIs can have the conversation while we're actually not involved. I mean, how many of us have hated, having to go back and forth trying to find a time that's suitable for a meeting? It's I mean, other ones that I love using, for instance, at the moment, I'm using another AI called Crisp, KRISP.ai. And the one thing I love about that one is I've got, for anyone who has not worked out, I'm in very, very chilly Canberra, which is the Washington, D.C. of Australia, and it's very cold here. I have a heater running behind me full bore, but Crisp is removing it as noise cancellation. So it's like noise cancellation headphones for my microphone, so that kind of, I can bang the table and you wouldn't hear it. And that kind of technology, so being able to do things that I'm already doing, but do them better or faster or easier, that's where I think the power of AI is really useful.
I absolutely agree. And if I can find an artificial intelligence platform that can help me, make sure that my kids are doing their homework and it's, correcting their math, their literacy, I think I will be the happiest person. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to get a tutor. I'm just going to make sure that after the tutor left and let them, and give them some homework. You can't sometimes be on the top of everything, right? And personally, when it comes to some homeworks, I am not a native English speaker, right? So maybe I can have a conversation, but I studied in Arabic, initially. So for me, now that my kids are older, it's getting harder for me to help them or to kind of, leverage what they know and enhance it. And when the tutor came, that's fantastic because it's brilliant. She's a student. She helps them out. Once she's out of the door, they're left by themselves, which is good too. But when she asks them to do something and they ask me for help, I can tell you that most of the time I try to talk to Alexa in my house, but then my kids look at me like, no, you're not serious. So if I can find an Alexa that is more for the educational to tell us, is it exactly correct and grammatically correct, or is it true, or, to kind of just help you. I think every parent or every adult in the room will agree. And enhance, again, that's kind of, the personal things. But from a, from a business point of view, it will be great that, you know, the artificial intelligence machine can help take real business decision. I've been hearing this for the last 15 years, that people take decision based on the dashboard they are doing, the report. And I'm telling you, you know, when we were using Excel as a simplest, you know, and like with the pivot, with the tabs and everything, which fabulous. I love the Excel, but we are human beings after all. And sometimes we do miss some patterns, right? And you know, analyzing the data takes sometimes longer than when we think about, and it does affect the business. And the business intelligence is to use this powered machine to make a logical, you know, decision. I know that you know, we kind of come from an emotional side, but analyzing, making sure that you have this dashboard available for you, and then you can add the emotional side when you look at it, right? Maybe the AI will give you, like, you know, a wide spectrums, but then we can choose from our, you know, thinking, and that will help a lot of, you know, medium and small businesses. Even the big corporates, sometimes they make, you know, mistakes based not on a human base, and I'm not going to say that, because we all make mistakes, and even the machine can make mistakes based on our own, you know, misunderstanding. But I think what is important to see is that I wouldn't say the machine are smarter than us. No, we created them for sure. But what they could do is make a quicker analyze than us in raw data. They also could check patterns that we couldn't see. Just imagine that analyzing this billion data that is available today, let's say just on any platform like Facebook or Google, and make it onto the service, real service. And I'm not getting controversial here, on the businesses, to help them really understand the behavior, triggering the emotion of the users, understanding what could be fit for any market. Because yes, we are all human beings, but 7 billion people across the planet, they can have different background, different economic background, historic background, ethnicity, language, society, context. And this localization can be done smoothly with the help on artificial intelligence platform, rather than being done from a human being. And I think the best example I could give is McDonald's, invading the Gulf region or India and coming with this big boots. I'm sorry to say, but like the big burgers, we're going to invade India and we're going to invade the Gulf. And people were like, yeah, no, we're vegetarian over in India. So sorry, it doesn't really work. But if they had this raw data and they had, a machine that could help them really analyze what the Indian food market is about, they would know that it's spicier than the rest of the world, right? And they would understand that maybe 60% of the society is vegetarian. So getting, maybe something that is more to their taste, and it took them less time to analyze this and put it together, rather than getting everything on the structure, putting, the brick and mortar shops and putting a lot of advertising behind it, and then realize after that why it's not working. And that's how we human beings make mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I also made something like that. So that's why I'm like, okay, if we had this analyzed, this data analyzed prior to this, it will have saved money. It would have saved, the mistakes, but also it would have helped us grow quicker and get quicker to the point B that we wanted to reach from the beginning. So that's maybe my, my thought on that.
Yeah, look, and I know that we're going to need to wrap it up in a second, but just on that, yeah, look, I think for me, AI is really great at fail. We can fail faster, and that's a good thing because it allows us to test and that sort of thing. But and on that note, so it's a really good sort of wrap up of what you were saying. I mean, I for me, humans we are messy, inconsistent geniuses, and AI is consistent, structured processes. And the magic happens when the two come together, and when you actually use the power and leverage the power of both together. And that story that you're talking about is absolutely perfect because, yes, both make mistakes. And I think, we've seen this in Facebook ads and things like that, where people have put up something and gone, why is my ad not getting improved? So, AI on its own with automation, full automation, can be a bit clunky, and we're not there yet. But humans on our own too, we get bored. We get, we treat ourselves like machines at times, and when we actually get AI to actually do the grunt work and for things that, we're doing repetitive tasks and things that we're doing over and over again, such as data analysis and those sort of things, or even something as simple as trying to book a schedule, a meeting, for instance, let AI do that. Or in our case, create content for you, or write the first draft of the content, but the human then takes and finesses it, and everything. When humans come in to finesse the content, that is when the map or the process or that sort of thing. In the case of the McDonald's example, for instance, you have the AI crunch the numbers, but the humans actually do the finessing of the analyzing at the end, and the two together is where that magic happens. So any final words before we sort of wrap up, Yasmine, or no?
No, I think I'm looking forward to the next stage of the artificial intelligence, conquering, the human, let's say, fears on the ground. And I'm super happy. For me, it looks like, we're conquering the moon in the 1968. I think that was in 1968, right? Yeah, I'm not that old, actually. That's good. Yeah, I'm super happy. I got the date right. But yeah, I think it's going to be the same thing. Once we are on the moon, and now with Elon, he was taking us in Mars, I think it's going to be an amazing time for our kids to, to see and live.
Look, even the whole aspect of the amount of content, we started with, I think in the 1940s and that sort of thing, it was doubling about every few months or something. It's now down to doubling, I think, every 12 hours or something. We create more. And so for us to be able to consume and use that information, we are learning and evolving at a rapid pace now. And it's such we can hide, stick our heads in the sand, or we can embrace it and actually, lead and see where, it takes us. So thank you so much for having you. I always love having conversations with you. It's always fantastic. And I know you and I could go on for hours on this topic. And in fact, I'd love to potentially have you back in the future to explore a few more aspects around this if you're open to it. And thank you so much for being on my first LinkedIn Live. And actually, I've just realized it's also my first sorry, no, it's not my first YouTube. I've done one other one for somebody else. It's not on my own one. But, with this kind of technologies, I can only suggest to all of you to get out there and try it yourself. It's great. I'm not, anyone who actually knows me also knows that I'm not a big person on video, but it is an area where you get a lot of engagement. And if you're having great conversations with people like Yasmine, it's not actually a big deal sort of thing. So if you comment below if you've come and watched the replay afterwards, we'd love to hear your comments and ask any questions and that sort of thing that we can help you in the future. And I think AI is the future, and and the coupling it with ourselves. So using it in your business is something to really consider. Till next time, thanks very much.